Hi, everyone. I'm Debby Montgomery Johnson, founder of the nonprofit, The Woman Behind the Smile, and your host of Stand Up and Speak Up, a show that is about each and every one of us. Many of us have something we're hiding, something we're ashamed of, something that through no fault of our own or through our own making, we keep hidden, and that in turn keeps us hidden from each other and the world. Good people go through terrible situations. Wise people know when and how to let it go. And everything that happens to us helps us grow. But while it may be hard to see it right away, the most important thing to do is to change your perception about your circumstances. Regardless of what your personal experiences or traumas have been, this showcase series is designed to ignite the light in you, as well as providing safe harbor, education, personal growth, and resources so that no matter where you are on your journey, you'll have the courage to move on when you are ready. Stand Up and Speak Up features ordinary people who've been through extraordinary situations and struggles and found the courage to step out from behind their smiles and speak up about their experiences and the lessons gleaned from those experiences. Everybody heals at a different pace, and we recognize that. So come on in, have a listen, and enjoy the ride at your own speed. Well, happy Thursday, everybody. It's a beautiful day down in South Florida. We are having a cold front, and I think it's going to be a high of 69 today. So my people friends up in New York are laughing at us thinking you guys should be out swimming today, and we actually might because the water's about 90 degrees. But anyway, I have a very special guest today who's coming to me from up in New York, and she's a friend of mine. We don't get to see each other very often except for Zoom, and I feel like we're doing that all the time today. But I'd like to welcome my guest, Miss Sandra Nunes. Are you there, my friend?
Yes, I am, Debbie. Thank you so much for having me, and I am honored, and it's my pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm really glad that you're here. I've seen you online a lot lately. You are really moving and shaking and doing some great things. And I told you earlier, I like to do my homework on my guests before the show, just to kind of get a little feel for who you are. Because I know that we all put up that pretty smile, and, you know, we have this public persona, and people think they know who we are. But if you read our stories, you understand, like, we are regular people that have been through regular things in life, extraordinary things, and we just really want to be a friend to people. But I think we don't always get that opportunity because people are looking at us on stage or they're looking at us on Zoom, and, you know, they see that part of us, but they don't see what I consider the real part of us. And I was watching a YouTube video of you this morning, and then I was reading your story, and I'm thinking, I love this woman. She is so much like I am. And I think we all are so much alike. It's just we don't get to see that part of ourselves or that part of our friends. So Let me introduce you to folks on the show, because many don't know who you are. Sandra Nunes has a passion for people. She embodies kindness and support both in her professional and personal lives. To know her is to love and want more of her, and that is true. She has served across cultures for corporate customers as a concierge and in cultivating personal growth. She has a dynamic background riddled with service and support, and as an entrepreneur, Sandra believes that as she helps you grow, she also grows, and that's with GROWINGWithSandra.com. Well, that's just the tip of the iceberg for my friend Sandra Nunes. Can you tell us a little bit about where you're living right now, Sandra, and kind of, you know, how'd you start in life?
Okay, awesome. I currently live on Long Island in New York on the North Shore in Huntington, which I love. I got here because about a couple of years before I moved here, I started my business here, a different business from Growing with Sandra, Concierge Lifestyle. And I loved the area. I loved the town. I loved the people. It's kind of like it's a village feel to it, but it also feels like a little Manhattan with all the little great restaurants and shops and boutiques and things like that in the village. And the people are just so warm and welcoming, and I just loved it. And I said, I'm going to live here one day. And 2 years later, here I am. So put it out there because you never know. And that's where I am right now.
Okay, so let's go back in time. This is what I love about Stand Up and Speak Up and about learning about my guests and my friends is, who were you before you became the Sandra Nunes that we know. And so we're going to go back a little bit. You were one of multiple children in your family. Where were you in the pecking order?
There were 6 of us, and I was the 3rd oldest. But I also used to say that I was the middle child because my 2 older sisters were 4 and 5 years older than me, so I could never tell them what to do because they were older than me. My younger sister was the baby girl of the family, so I couldn't do anything to her. And then my brothers, the oldest boy, they were younger than me too, but the oldest boy was the first boy in my mom's family. So he was king. And then the last boy was the baby of the family. So I was in the middle.
Dang, you got gypped.
I did.
You were an island amongst yourself.
Yes.
Well, it's interesting, though. I was reading something that you were saying, though, and as all of us were when we were young, we loved our siblings, but we bickered. And we were, trying to get that attention. So how did you find attention when you were that age?
Oh, I just threw temper tantrums all the time. No, I'm just kidding. It wasn't easy. We were kind of a loud bunch, and everybody wanted attention. So we were all kind of like always talking over each other and that kind of thing. But I don't think I really tried very hard because I always felt like everybody else was louder than me. So I kind of quieted myself down, put my head down, and just, stayed in the corner. So I didn't really get much attention. That was part of my issue, I guess, growing up, where things were different for me than I felt like my other than it was for my other siblings. And it wasn't until I was much, much older that I started to learn different. But it was like that for me most of my life, kind of in the corner, not really saying anything, and interestingly enough, not standing up for myself when I should have so many times.
Was there something that you did really well that you really enjoyed as a child that you stood apart from them? Maybe dancing or?
Yes, I used to. I loved to dance. I remember, especially around the holidays when the holiday music is playing. My sister and my younger sister, we were closer in age to each other, so we were, like best friends. We used to play out the songs. Like if it was Winter Wonderland, we would be building the snowman, and calling him Parson Brown and getting married and all that stuff. So we would kind of dance and choreograph this whole dance that went along with the song. So that was a lot of fun. So we used to do that. And to this day, as I got older, I did work at Arthur Murray's teaching ballroom dancing, and I love to dance. It's one of my favorite things on my list.
That's cool, because I really didn't know that about you. It just kind of came out. But that's neat. I can see you dancing around now. And I always tease that I have no Zumba in my blood, and my husband confirmed that the other day. He goes, you really can't dance. I'm like, stop. Don't tell me I can't. And maybe I can't. But, in your mind, you want to be able to do that. And who cares?
Right.
You get to the point who cares? I was dancing with my grandkids. They didn't care. They just wanted Grandma bouncing around with them.
Everybody can dance. Everybody can dance. You have a song in you, and you can dance to your own rhythm. That's all there is to it.
Absolutely. Well, I can see you dancing, and right now I'm looking at a picture that I put up on my website of you, and you're standing in front of the water with your arms stretched out with just joy in your face. And I'm thinking, that's her dancing. She's dancing in front of the ocean. So that's cool. I really wanted to hear that part because that's the inner part of us that sometimes we do hide too as we get older. You hear you can't dance. So then you don't dance. Yeah. When your spirit really wants to dance. Going forward through school and whatever, you ended up getting married. Did you marry early? Did I read that?
No. I didn't get married until I was 37.
There you go. Well, that could be early comparatively speaking.
That's true.
So up until that point,
where all of my other friends and siblings were married, I was the only one that wasn't married yet. Yeah.
Well, and back then, I got married at I was almost 26, and what's taking you so long?
Yeah.
Did you ever get any of that?
Not really.
No.
Not really.
Okay.
I was busy doing things for myself. That I had a whole goal of a career set up after I was in the military. I wanted to be a police officer and then move into and then be a detective and then move into forensic science and then become a lawyer. I had this whole plan planned out. Things didn't work in my favor, but so my family knew that was my goal, and I just couldn't see myself getting married and trying to raise a family during all of that process. So
okay. Well, in first place, thank you so much for your service. You were in the Army for a few years, and how did that happen? I mean, how did you get into the Army?
Well, as we mentioned before, I come from a family of 6 children and 2 adults and 1 bathroom, so I ran away and joined the circus. No, I'm just kidding. I ran away and joined the Army. No, I didn't run away. But part of my plan was that I wanted to be a police officer. So I graduated high school at 17 years old. I graduated the year early. I was too young to take any of the exams, so I decided, let me go into the military and get the experience, and the military would pay for my college, and then when I come out, I'll be old enough to take the exams and so on and so forth. So that's how that ended up happening.
Well, and you were in the service for 4 years, and then afterwards, where did you go from there? Because you did ended up in corporate, but before you got into corporate.
Well, after I got out of the military, I took all the exams that were available for the police department. And while I was waiting to be called, I had to work because I had to eat. So I got a job in corporate and customer service. And when I did get called, finally, unfortunately, that was when the mayor of New York put a freeze on hiring the police officers and fire department personnel. Mm-hmm. So I continued working in corporate, and I found actually that I wanted to be a police officer because I wanted to help people, and also I guess because my father was a police officer, so I wanted to, aspire to what he did. And when I ended up in corporate for so long, I realized, wow, this is helping people. I am working with people and helping them. I was in customer service in various different industries over the years, and I just continued in that industry because it gave me what I was looking for. I wanted to help people. So that's how I stayed in corporate. I was in corporate for many, many years before I left. I became like many, many people, working 60, 70 hours a week, pile of work on their desk, above their head that they can't get through every day, and no reward or, acknowledgement at all except for a small little paycheck at the end of the week. And I would be working overtime, and then I would go home and take care of home and whatever. And I had no time for me. I was giving all my time to everybody else, and I had no time left for me. I pretty much ran myself ragged to the point that I ended up getting sick. Mm-hmm. And life has an interesting way of teaching us lessons, and mine came in the form of cancer.
Well, and I was reading that part of your story earlier, and this goes, Sandra is a contributing author in the book Grown Women Shit means Shift How I Think. And that just came out with our friend C. Simone Rivers and probably several other women that might even be on this call. When I read the part where it said you got the call that said you had cancer, at that moment, I had the same feeling come over me when I got the call from my son, Christopher, when he called 10 years ago and said, Mom, Dad just died.
Oh, wow.
How did you feel, though? Where did you go from there? Because you could have hidden behind the rock at that point. So how did you get past that call?
Interestingly enough, when I was told that, I was actually in the hospital when they told me that. I had a horrible experience in the hospital, and this part's not in the book, but I had a horrible experience while in the hospital, and they were trying to figure out what was happening with me. And I started to feel like what I would imagine some of our elderly people in some not-so-reputable nursing homes feel when they are laying in their soiled bed and they have nobody taking care of them, nobody helping them, nobody doing anything for them. And I felt so alone and so afraid. And I said, oh, my gosh, this must be what it is like in those horror stories you hear about some of those nursing homes for those poor people. And the next day, when my doctor came into the room and told me that I was being transferred to another hospital because they found a mass in my abdomen, I started to cry. But when I cried, it was like that went right over my head, and it wasn't tears of fear or sorrow. It was tears of happiness because I wanted to get out of that hospital. That the fact that they were telling me that I had cancer just kind of like flew over my head, and it was no big deal because getting out of that hospital meant more to me. It was the weirdest thing. When they finally did, I think because of that happening, it gave me an opportunity to realize what was really important and what really mattered. And for some reason, there was some kind of door or wall that just shut down in my brain and didn't allow me to have any fear of the cancer. And it said, okay, this is what it is. This is what you have. This is what's going to happen. And the doctors are just going to handle it. Let the doctors take care of the disease, and I was just going to go on and do whatever I had to do in my life. And that's how it happened. I think that was just a defense mechanism of mine built into me from young childhood, from what there were other traumas I didn't talk about in the book from when I was a child. And I think that was a defense mechanism that I built to protect myself from those kinds of things. So in a way, it was great because it did help me to just not think about it, and death never came into my mind, not one single time.
And you were pretty young.
I was 47.
47. Yeah, that's young. I'm having this stupor of thought here because I'm just thinking, a lot of people would say, well, why me, and go through that whole why me, which any of us could say that about anything that we've been through. Why me? So you recognize that now it's time to slow down for a little bit. Did you do that?
Not enough.
Okay.
Not enough. What I didn't change was, before I had cancer, I was a pretty negative person. The glass was half empty. I was always figuring out a way how we couldn't do something, or why we couldn't do something, rather than how can we do something. And I didn't really like myself very much. I think that kind of lent to a lot of the stress that I was under. And, when you're walking around negative all the time and there's nothing that you look at that's positive in your life, and you think everything's happening to you instead of, just happening, and blaming everyone else for what's happening in your life and that your life sucks, it takes its toll, on your body. And after the first diagnosis of cancer, I was sitting in my girlfriend's kitchen, and I said, about a year later, I said, I don't feel grateful for having survived cancer, and I don't understand why. People that go through what I went through wake up every morning and thank goodness I have another breath of air in my lungs and another day to live, and I was just not feeling it. And my girlfriend said, you need to read The Secret. And I didn't know what that was, and I had never heard of it. And I'm more of a visual audio person, so I did some research and found out it was a documentary film first and then a book. So I got the DVD and I started watching it. And it's all about the law of attraction and how like attracts like. But there's a lot of talk about gratitude in the film, and practices that a lot of these different teachers of the law of attraction use as far as gratitude practices went. So I watched it, and some of the things I was like, yeah, right, okay, whatever. And then there were some things that made sense to me, and I started to practice some of those gratitude practices. And I found that the more I would be grateful for little things, right? Grateful that I have a phone that I can talk to people with, grateful for food on my table and little things, and grateful for my shoes that fit me well and support my feet. And all those little things. And I started to find more and more things to be grateful for. And when I kept watching the film over and over again. And so some of those things that I used to say, yeah, right, started to make sense to me. And I started to follow some of the other teachers in the film and reading all of their stuff and listening to audios and things like that. And it started me on my personal growth journey. It took a while, though, because I still believe that I wasn't really absorbing enough of it to change completely who I was. It was little steps here and there, little bits by bit. And I was still under a lot of stress. And then I was given my freedom for my 16-year corporate job that I thought I could rely on. I realized I couldn't rely on anything. And that's when I started my first business. And it was stressful. It was very stressful. And I liked what I was doing. I just needed to figure out a different way to do it. And the second call came.
Well, before we go into that one,
yeah.
To transition from being freed from your corporate job, I've had that experience before, and started your own business, how did your family react and your friends? Because that's a big thing. We work with a lot of entrepreneurs now. We're surrounded by a lot of our friends who are entrepreneurs, and we get some from blowback sometimes from our friends. So did you get any of that? Any naysayers in your life? And if so, how did you deal with them?
Yes, I had mostly from my husband. Mm-hmm. He supported me in a way that he helped me with some of the work in the business, but his belief was, you have to get a job. You have to get a job. Mm-hmm. You need a job. I said, why am I going to get a job? He says, well, because you need security. And I said, do you realize I just lost my 16-year job, so how secure was that? There was no security in that. And this is what I want to do. So I didn't get that kind of support that I needed, and there was always the comments of, nobody's going to pay for that. Nobody's going to pay for that when they could do it themselves. Nobody's going to buy that.
Explain to the audience what you were doing, because I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, it was a concierge. It's a concierge service, concierge lifestyle, and I worked with busy professionals and individuals to relieve them of some of the tasks on their to-do list so that we could create time for them to do the things that were most important to them. So that could be family time. It could be stay at the bar with the girls or out on the golf course with the guys. Whatever it was they wanted to do, they now would have time because I was taking off tasks off their to-do list and having it taken care of so that they wouldn't have to spend time doing that.
Now, you weren't doing all that work yourself. Were you hiring other people to work for you?
In the beginning, I was doing that all myself.
Okay.
The stress, right? I was cleaning the house, walking the dog, picking up the dry cleaning, doing the grocery shopping, going to the Department of Motor Vehicle. I was doing whatever the tasks were. And then that's when I realized I needed to change my business model because that was the second calling of I have cancer again. Mm-hmm. And I realized, okay, I have to do things different. And then I started to partner with the housekeeping company, the pet care company, the dry cleaner that picked up and delivered. And I make arrangements for my clients, which now became members, to have their tasks done. And I vet all of the vendors who I have come on board to provide the services. So now I'm really a personal concierge, liaison between the two and making all those arrangements for my clients.
Well, it's perfect. You pivoted, and that's the word of the year. But you were flexible enough to see that you couldn't do it yourself, even though you probably wanted to. You said, I'm Superwoman, I can do all this, but we just can't. We just can't.
Right.
And that's when you bring in other people and delegate and use your expertise. And someone that really loves to clean homes, let them do that.
Exactly.
And it's funny because you'll say that. The naysayers will say, well, people aren't going to pay for that. Well, I'm married to a wonderful man who has a great living, and he's like, Deb, I will never paint a wall. I will never do such and such. He goes, I work hard enough that I can hire someone to do that. Because I'm thinking, I can paint walls. I can do this. And I'm like, that's so true. there are people out there that love to paint walls. Let them paint the wall. Let's, help out the economy. And I loved how you did that, because there are people out there that will pay for just about anything that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And they'll prioritize their funds to be able to do that. So kudos for you. But then your body said, too much.
Right, exactly. And that was really when change started happening for me the second time. And again, the thought of death never came to my mind. The second time I was shocked, because the doctors didn't tell me that this was the type of cancer that will come back.
Were you feeling sick at all? Did you ever feel sick?
During treatment, I did not feel sick. The first time was very, very difficult because my lung was filling with fluid, so I had to have a chest tube put in. So I was in a lot of pain. So I had tubes everywhere. That's why when the first hospital I had a bad experience in, I felt helpless because I couldn't go to the bathroom by myself. I couldn't do anything because I was hooked up to all these machines. So the first and second time throughout the chemo, I lost my hair both times, and the second time wasn't as traumatizing because, of course, I had already gone through it and I knew what to expect. Even though the doctors told me that was going to happen and I thought I was ready for it, when it happened, it was like, whoa, okay. But I got over that quickly, and it was fine because I knew it was going to grow back. But I was fortunate enough that I didn't have any of the other things during chemo, like losing weight, fatigue, vomiting, and all of those other terrible things that come through that. But I did have a lot of pain the first time because of the chest tube. And I was on a lot of pain medications and things like that. And the second time, I didn't have that issue, so I didn't have that pain, but the chemo was more difficult to go through as far as the pain with the infusions because I was running out of veins. I decided not to get a port, and by the end, they had to put the last one in a vein in my pinky, and that was excruciating. It hurt so bad, and then I really kicked myself for not getting a port because it was so excruciating. That was the most difficult part, was the treatment itself, because it was 3 days in a row, every 3 weeks.
But before you got the second diagnosis, I know a lot of us get so busy we don't take care of ourselves and don't go to the doctor. Was there any indication that the cancer had come back? Did you feel anything that would get you into the doctor?
When it finally did come back, yeah, but not prior to that. So I was talking with my brother and walking up a small little hill, and when I got to the top of the hill, I had to stop talking and take a breath because I didn't feel like I was getting air, and there was a little voice in the back of my head that said, no, it can't be again. No. And that was on a Memorial Day week, and I was upstate, so as soon as I came back home, I went straight to my pulmonologist, and he did the test, and he put a needle, a big, long needle, through my ribs into my lung and extracted the liquid. And when he looked at it, he looked at me. That's all. He didn't even have to say anything. Okay. But I went into his office, sat there, and I could just tell by the look on his face. He felt so bad that he had to tell me that the cancer was back. Oh. So then I had gone back to the chemo doctor. I mean, the oncologist. Okay.
Well, that's out of this, though, because you've turned your story around and said cancer saved your life. Most people are going, oh, my gosh, how could she get to that point from here? But explain to us why you feel cancer actually saved your life. What happened now?
If it wasn't for cancer happening twice, I wouldn't have looked to change how I felt about who I was. I would have continued down that dark, downward spiral, as I mentioned in the book, of negativity and just being miserable in my life and blaming everybody else for my life. And cancer helped me to find out and understand that I have a choice in my life to choose how I want my life to be. And I didn't feel that way before. I felt trapped. I felt stuck. I felt like I had no choice, no power to do anything to change my life. And I stayed in my marriage longer than I should have because I felt I had no power and no choice. I stayed in that stressful job because I felt like I had no power, no choice. And I was afraid to leave because I thought, you know, who's going to hire me at this age? And even if they did, I'm going to have to start at the bottom. And do I really want to do that? And, you know, at least I know what to expect here, but I don't know what's going to happen there. So I can't leave. I have to stay here because what if I don't get a job and I don't make money to support myself? And I have to stay in this relationship because I don't know if I can make it on my own and be independent, and I don't know what's going to happen. I don't want to be homeless. And so all of these things were going through my mind about, you know, I don't have the power to do anything to change my circumstances. And after cancer and starting down this personal growth journey, as I refer to it, and discovering that there is another way to be, I was like, wow, so there is more to life than this. I can choose to not do something because I can believe that I have the power to believe that I can do whatever I want and be whatever I want and have whatever I want. Wow, that's insane, but I like it. So that's especially after the second time having cancer is when I realized, oh boy, yeah, I really need to look into more of this and really research a lot more of this and see if this is something that I can do. And it's interesting because I remembered when I was a small little child, I wanted something. I don't remember what it was I wanted. And I prayed to God because that's what I knew, right? God. We weren't very religious. We didn't go to church. I was probably the only one out of my family that did because I went with a friend and her family because I liked it. And I prayed to God, and I said, God, please, please, please give me this. I promise, I'll be a good girl, and I'll pray every day. And, you know, I made all these promises, and I asked for whatever the thing was that I wanted, and I got the thing. I was like, wow, it works. But I didn't, of course, you know, pray all the time like I promised I would. But I don't know, I might have been like 6 or 7 or something like that. But I always thought in my head, back then even, there's got to be more to life than this. Now, I didn't know what that meant really, but I always knew life can't be like this. My family was, we were kind of dysfunctional. We didn't really, you know, support and encourage one another. It was not nice. And I just felt like I was always being picked on, but I think it was more like they just didn't understand me. They just didn't get me. I was so different from them in the way I was thinking that they just didn't get me. And I always wondered, there's got to be a different way to live, because I would see my friend and her family that I used to go to church with and how her siblings treated each other, and her parents treated each other, and her parents treated the children so loving and warm and respectful and supporting and everything. And I was like, yeah, there definitely has to be another way. So that always kind of stuck with me. And when I went through cancer the second time, I realized, okay, this is a wake-up call, Sandra. This is the answer to your question. Is there another way? So you have to find it. And then I started to look for it, and I found it. And I found my power. And now I know that I am somebody that matters. I am worthy, and I have the power to choose to create my life that I want and that I deserve, because I'm no different than anybody else, and I deserve everything that I want. No one's better. No one's less than me. I am me.
Well, and I'm sitting here doing the Wonder Woman, Superwoman, woohoo, you know, what you're doing in front of the beach, because I love it. You know, it's all about standing up, speaking up if you need to, and getting back into that power. And I read here that you said that you finally got it. The stories we tell ourselves and others shapes our lives. We all have stories we tell ourselves at different points in our lives, and sometimes it's to keep us safe from harm. Other times it can cause us more harm than we know. And you said all of your stories you've been telling yourself were hurting you, The family was judgmental. They didn't approve of me. I'm not smart enough. I'm not, I'm too old for this, blah, blah, all those blah, blah, blah things that we hear.
Yes.
It is so true, and I struggle with that too. There are times when I'm thinking, I can't get over this because so-and-so is thinking that. I can't go sit there because I don't want to sit beside that person because she thinks that I've done such and such. And I'm thinking, why am I doing that? Why am I thinking that? And honestly, what other people think of us doesn't matter, and it's easy to say that now, but it truly doesn't, because most of the time, what we think they're thinking about us, they don't even think that.
That is so true.
They're not, like, I have my former mother, my just late mother-in-law, she was so funny. She would hold a grudge for 30 years. And I'm thinking, you know what, that grudge you're holding, I bet that person doesn't even know that you've got that grudge going. It's on your side. Yeah. It's a one-sided grudge. Ruined her life. Ruined her life. Absolutely. I was talking to my husband, and he remembers something that his dad did. His father passed away about 5 years ago, and his dad was really close to his one man when they were younger. Well, they had it out about something, and they didn't talk for the rest of their lives. And when the other man passed away, CJ's dad really regretted that they never patched it up. So one thing, one of the things that he regretted is that he didn't take the higher road and go and either apologize or whatever you need to do to say, you know what, our friendship was more important than whatever kept us apart. And yes. I know we do that, and it's not until something happens that, somebody gets sick or somebody passes away that you're thinking, oh, goodness, life is too short for this, Yes. And so you made a great change, and I loved how you put that you decided, and here it's all about choice. It's all about choice, personal choice, that you're going to come from a place of love, compassion, and positivity for yourself first, and then everybody else. Right. So how have you transitioned? Because you're doing more than just your concierge business now. You've got a whole new movement, Grow with Sandra. Yeah. Explain that to us, please. How did you get to that part in your life?
That was an interesting. It just developed organically. It was interesting how that happened, because working with my clients with concierge lifestyle, I had to get very close, up close and personal with them, and be in their life, because I was the one that was reminding them, it's your anniversary. What are you going to do for your husband's birthday or your child, whatever? And just I knew everything about them a lot more, and sometimes a lot more than I really wanted to know or needed to know. And when I saw them with all this free time now, it was interesting. I realized, and they still weren't happy with all the free time they had. I realized, they're not. It wasn't the time. The time is not the problem. It's whatever they're feeling unhappy about. And it was interesting because they all thought that the concierge service was a great idea, and how did I come up with it, and what inspired me to start the business. So I started to share with them the same story I shared with you about having had cancer, because when I lost my corporate job, I knew I had to do something to help people to not have to go through what I went through, and that's how Concierge Lifestyle came about. And I shared that story with them, and they said, but how did you get through? Same question you asked me, how did you get through and come out better on the other side of cancer? And I would share that with them, and I shared the tools and strategies that I learned through my personal growth journey with them. And then they started practicing them. And I noticed that they started changing, and things were different about their attitude, and they started to be happy and really enjoying the time that they now had. And I realized, I've been doing this all along. I've been teaching this all along. And so why can't I just put this together into a course that anybody can take and learn how to get their power back? Really, what I'd love to do is to remind people that they have power. We forgot. Mm-hmm. We have forgotten that we were born with the power to choose. As we got older, and we started listening, like you said, to those outside voices, right? All the naysayers or whatever those stories were that we were being told about ourselves, and then the stories that we were making up about ourselves changed the course of our life because we started listening to them. and believing them, instead of choosing staying within our power and standing within our power and choosing the story we wanted to tell ourselves about how we want it to be. And that was what led me to creating Growing with Sandra, because I want to be able to share that with everybody and remind everybody, because every single solitary person on the face of this earth has the power to choose. No matter what they've been brought up to believe, they have the power to choose to create their own life the way they want it to be.
And to remember that things in life happen for us and not to us. Correct.
Exactly.
And I've heard that throughout what you were saying, because if we could get into the why me, woe is me, in my case, the victim mentality, which will hold you back.
Absolutely, and that's what happened to me. It held me back.
Kept you in that dark place.
Mm-hmm. Downward spiral.
And then the law of attraction, dark attracts dark, and you look who you're surrounding yourself with.
And when the voices on the outside, well, actually, when the voice on the inside becomes louder than the voices on the outside, that's when you know you've mastered your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And that's from one of the teachers, I can't think of his name right now, from The Secret. He was told that he was not going to amount to anything. He might as well be put in a home. He was diagnosed with, labeled with ADHD, ADD, all those disorders, and that he was never going to be able to learn past the, fourth grade or something like that it was. And now he's a doctor of psychology, and he has a PhD and all of that stuff. And so be careful what you choose to believe in.
And someone asked me one time, I think a week or two ago, I was talking with a business coach, and he says, what's the worst that's going to happen if you do ABC? Because I was resisting something. He goes, what's the worst that's going to happen if you do that? And I'm thinking, well, I don't know. He goes, tell me, think about it. What's the worst thing? So I think if we look at things in life, like, what is the worst thing that's going to happen if you leave your corporate job? And there are, a lot of corporate jobs are leaving you right now. Like you said, they free you. What's the worst going to happen if you, take a jump and start something new or start your own company? What's the worst that's going to happen? And you could look at the worst case and then say, so is that going to kill me? How's that going to hold me back? What's the worst that not being positive is going to do for me? Well, it's going to keep you in a dark place. It's going to, there are so many things. It's just a matter of jumping. And I remember the greatest thing that I did after Lou passed away was a year later when my daughter Jenny and I decided to go skydiving. And we jumped out of that perfectly good airplane at 10,000 feet. And exhilarating, scary, but what a liberating, exciting, bonding experience with my daughter. And I really say everybody needs to do it at least once in their life. I've done it twice now. I don't know that I have to do it a third time. But to just go for it and feel, 5,000 feet, you're falling, free falling, and I've seen pictures and the skin is just in the back of your face. But when the parachute pops and you're floating, the world looked fabulous. And I was just thinking, we fly through life so fast and not absorbing anything, not appreciating anything. And then something happens and we pull our parachute, we have that call, and it slows us down. And that's when the appreciation of, wow, but this really is a pretty country that we're living around, or, the shoes on my feet fit today. It's the little appreciation that is so important, but you might not have appreciated it if you didn't jump. If you didn't make that choice to do something, what other people thought, even pilot friends of mine thought it was outrageous that we were skydiving. But it was just something that was extraordinary, and it has led me to, to do things crazy, not crazy, but fun, like parasailing.
And normally,
being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And it takes us a long time sometimes to get to that point. I believe that some of the younger folks do that easier than we do. My youngest son, he does stuff. I'm like, well, exactly.
When we were younger, we did it too.
Probably so.
Because we didn't have as much fear as we do now, or maybe understanding of how dangerous something might be.
Or responsibilities,
exactly.
too. We're thinking,
exactly. A lot of things have to do with it.
Yeah, true. Yeah. But now that we're getting older, the MTS syndrome is pretty fun, and you think, well, except for the insurance company who doesn't want me jumping out of airplanes, we could do stuff. So getting back to real life and what you're doing now, because I read somewhere, and you're putting it out there too, that about 80% of people that make a resolution the first of the year by now have already bagged it.
Yeah.
Right? So our goals. Yeah. First off, what's the reason we're making those resolutions? Is it to make ourselves feel better? Is it the understanding that, you have to make a resolution? And why aren't we sticking to them?
I think it's it could be a combination of both of those reasons, just because it's time to make a resolution, or it's really something that you want to do. And I think a lot of it, too, is that as humans, we feel like we have to, success is measured in accomplishments, and money and things like that, and what you have and what you do. So there's a lot of reasons why people set goals and resolutions. The important thing to remember is, if it's something that you really want to do and you really want to accomplish, then do it. It doesn't matter the reason behind it. What's the level of desire that you have behind wanting to, achieve that goal, or create a new habit and do something different than what you've been doing before? How to make those habits stick is probably the most difficult part of setting a new goal and creating a new habit. And most of the time, people don't think that they have to have some kind of system or plan in place to necessarily get it done. And what I mean by a system, I mean really tiny little. I'm going to go to the gym this year. That's my goal. I'm going to go to the gym 5 days a week, and I'm going to go do an hour of spin class twice a week. And you go to the gym, you do an hour of spin class, you come home, and your muscles are killing you the next day. So there's no way you're going to go back to the gym and do 60 minutes of spin class again. So guess what? You stop, because you think it's impossible. You start telling yourself the story, and you start talking yourself right out of accomplishing that goal, or accomplishing that, creating that new habit that you want to get into. So it's the systems most times that people use to try to achieve their goals or create new habits that is not working. So instead of concentrating on the outcome, the goal, the outcome of the new habit, they need to concentrate on the system that they're using to create that new habit.
Which is step-by-step, little bite-sized, don't eat the elephant at one bite, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of different techniques and methods out there that you can use to do that. You have to just, figure out what the right one is for you, and then implement it. And if it's not working, then look for another one. Just don't give up completely. Just look for another one.
Now
there's one out there that works.
Right. You're hosting a master class on this coming up soon. Is that correct? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely.
And how people can register for it if they'd like to join?
I'd love to, sure. I am hosting a master class, which is 90 minutes, on February 1st, this coming Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And what exactly we're going to be talking about is what happens when a habit isn't sticking. And it's how to create sticky habits for lasting change. So we'll talk. I have 3 strategies I want to talk about, and that's finding those hidden patterns and thoughts and beliefs that tricked you into the habits of procrastination, feeling stuck and unclear, first of all, because that's where you end up stopping in 3 weeks into the year, 4 weeks into the year, the new habits. And then I'll be talking about a blueprint of a way you can design your system for success that works for you, which is what I mentioned before, and then how to really integrate that into your life so that it becomes a day-to-day regular thing and that's how it ends up being lasting change. So that would be, they can go to register for the class. They can go to growingwithsandra.com/master, MASTER, growingwithsandra.com/master. They can register there for the class. It's a 2-step process, so they have to make sure they do the second step. Otherwise, they won't get the emails for the class to log in on Zoom. We're doing it on Zoom.
Okay, great. So growingwithsandra.com/master for the class on February 1st. And then your book, you're part of the book called Grown Women Shift How I Think, and that's, I believe, on Amazon.
Actually,
or not?
Yes, the version that's on Amazon is the same. It's the same version. I have copies that actually are a limited edition. It has my picture on the front and my name on the front of the book.
Ooh, how do we get a hold of that?
Yes, I'm offering that with a personal autograph, personalized autograph, and a one-on-one bonus session with me, along with purchasing of the book. And they can purchase that at growingwithsandra.com/about-Sandra.
That's terrific. Because I was sitting here reading, I have the Kindle version, and I was reading it on my phone going, I don't like this. I like having that book in my hands, and being able to highlight, because I actually printed some screenshots and then printed them off on my computer. And I've got these like 8.5 by 11, but it's like huge writing in it. It's all yellowed and highlighted in yellow. That's the way I learn, is by reading and highlighting and printing and whatever. So I really I like that. So yeah, I'm going to go after that one.
Yeah, I agree. I got the books, the physical books, a few days ago, and I hadn't read the chapter since I read it on the Kindle version when it was launched. And when I got the book in my hand, I sat on the couch and I started turning pages. And I was like, oh my gosh, this feels so great. And I opened it up to my chapter and I reread my chapter again. And I was like, wow, it's a book. So when you have the physical book, it's so different than just reading it on the computer. It actually feels like it's something solid and it's mine, So yeah, definitely, and it's a limited edition, so they get that, and it'll be personally signed by me, and you'll get your bonus session too.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a wonderful thing, and I felt the same way about my book, and the next step is putting it on Audible, and Paley and I put my book on Audible, and I was listening to it in the car the other day, and I'm like, wow, that was really incredible, because it's not just about the story of the scam. It's about my life and the transitions. And a lot of the things that you said in your book, I said in my book. And I'm thinking, we are these kindred spirits. We have the same thoughts about, when we were younger, not being pretty enough, smart enough, all those enough things. Mm-hmm. And then being married, I love the part where you said that you and your husband were like roommates. And I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, I felt that same way. And I put that in my book, that after 15, 20 years, you're in the same house, but your roommate's in the house. And I was like, oh, this woman she's my sister by another mister.
Yes.
And I loved
absolutely.
it. And I just love how you've transitioned in your life, and we all get stuck, and being freed from a job, being laid off or whatever we're going to call it. I mean, I had it happen too. That kind of kicks you in the pants and sends you in a different direction. But that new direction is where you needed to go. But we never would have left the comfort, if we called it that, the security of what we had to move forward.
Right. And it's a false security, really. It's a false security, because we're here to love and to enjoy. We're not here to get up in the morning, go to work, come home, go to bed, get up in the morning, go to work, come home, go to bed.
Yeah.
We're here to love and enjoy. And if you're thinking that, where you are is secure, ask yourself again. And you brought that up when you said your coach asked you, what would happen if you didn't do this. And I wanted to just throw this in there real quick. If you're questioning whether to do something or not, I ask myself 3 questions. Is it something that will kill me? 100% definitely kill me. there's still, a chance that you jump out of a plane, you're not going to get killed because you have a parachute. But is it going to kill me to do this? What would my life look like if I didn't do this? And what would my life look like if I did do this?
Great
and
question.
Then, yes, be truthful and honest, and then decide whether or not you want to do the thing that you're thinking about doing.
And put yourself around people that will support you and not the naysayers, because I loved how you put at one point where, your family wasn't, where was it? I have it here. About how, you can probably, my family isn't judging me, they just don't get me.
Right.
That's true about friends. Our friends, which we think they're judging us and they're leaving us, they just don't get who we are sometimes. And the direction we're going in is not the direction that they want to go in, or they don't want to go with us, and they don't see that. But you know what? Like you said, this is our life. This is our purpose, our passion, and sometimes we've got to do it. Not sometimes. We've got to do it for us. Yeah. In the end, it's not selfish. It's
beneficial for everybody in the end.
Exactly, because we become better people.
Yeah.
We become better people from what we've done. And
absolutely.
I'm so excited we had this talk. And I usually bring Dr. Tim McGinnis, the founder of SCARS, the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams, onto the show. And I think I just texted Tim. I said, I think Sandra and I kept on chatting, Tim. And I know he always wants to come in because so many of the things that we talk about in the show are applicable to the women that we deal with in SCARS that have had relationship fraud, scam, and whatever. But in this particular story that we've talked about in your life, in my life, this applies to every one of us, regardless of what we've been through. We have the choice to stay where we are in that dark place or to move on and make something positive out of that thing that happened to us / for us. And in your case, it was the cancer. In your case, it was the job, being let go at corporate, having the husband, all those experiences. What a great life if we can look at it positively and appreciate all of those little, I call them our little pieces of our quilt, our quilted life.
Right.
I look at your picture and the smile and your hair, and I didn't know that you had had the cancer and that you'd lost your hair. And I'm looking at the pictures I have of you, and you've got this gorgeous head of hair and a big smile on your face, and who would have known? So thank you so much for sharing your story, for standing up, for speaking up, for finding your power again. And again, folks, if you want to get a hold of Sandra Nunes, she's at growingwithsandra.com. Go and sign up for her class, growingwithsandra.com/master. And then her book you can get at growingwithsandra.com/about-Sandra. The book with a picture, one-on-one bonus. I encourage you to do so. Sandra, last word, what would you like to say to everybody today?
I would like to share with everybody that one of my most favorite quotes, because I know it's not easy sometimes when you want to make a change, whether it's little or big. And Martin Luther King, I think, put it best. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step.
Perfect.
Just
and
take the first step, and don't worry about anything else, because that will all unfold in its own time when you're ready for that next step.
Perfect. Well, that's, even though those of us that live in one-story houses, there's a little step coming into the house. So, Sandra, thank you so much for all you've done and for what you're doing now and for the transitions you've made in your life and the women and men that you're affecting. We really appreciate you being here on Stand Up and Speak Up today. So thanks very much. And we're going to close it up today, everybody. We're dedicated to encouraging you to remove the mask of embarrassment and to being your best self. Always. We didn't talk about this much today, but if you've been a victim of a scam or some sort of cybercrime, please visit againstscams.org for assistance and guidance about your options and recovery. SCARS, the Society of Citizens Against Relationship Scams, is an incorporated nonprofit crime victims assistance organization based in Miami. I'm on the board. We worked around the world with people that have been scammed, and we really are looking forward to helping you if you need that help. This episode has been sponsored by BenfoComplete.com, a vitamin supplement company that supports happy and healthy hands and feet for those with neuropathy. If you or anyone you know struggles with the pins and needles and numbness in their hands and feet, check out our benfotiamine products at BenfoComplete.com and use the special code STANDUP for a 5% discount on your purchase. Again, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Go to my website, thewomanbehindthesmile.com, for additional information and resources. Join our Facebook group. Check us all out. We're here for you. And again, Sandra, thanks so much for being with me today. I really appreciate you. Stay warm, stay healthy, and everybody out there, have a great week. We'll be with you all next week. Thanks.